Trix, I kind of want this to be the final story of the season. I mean, we've been having a lot of fun. True, but we do have Ludenverse and 17th and Sunny June to get back to. True. But hey, at least I'll be getting back to this probably by the end of the summer, with any luck. So here's episode 13 of this adventure, Return of the King. Ba-ba-ba-da-dum! My apologies. Sally awoke from the most painful slumber she had in a very long time. She sat up and stretched, basking in the ray of morning sunlight that fell upon her head. She looked over and saw that Sandra's bed was empty. She stared for a second and remembered seeing Tails had guard duty that night before. I wonder how much time they actually spent watching for intruders instead of watching each other, she mused. She got out of bed and walked towards the window. Not all had almost been a non-stop party for the past week. The combined excitement of the double engagement and return of her father put all the citizens in an extremely joyful mood. She smiled, thinking that her life had never been better. "Good morning, Princess," said a friendly voice near the window. "You look well." "Good morning, Rosie," Sally said, turning to her nanny. "Today is a great day."
"As it should be, Princess," Taz said, stepping in view. "I have not felt this hopeful about the future in almost a decade."
Sally's smile widened. She seemed to have a glow that competed with the sun. "Thank you, Tanis. It's nice to know that everything is starting to come together."
Tanis nodded thoughtfully. "If you'll excuse me, I have some business to attend to in Sanctuary."
He turned and bowed to Rosie and walked off. "He still loves you, you know," Sally pointed out. She motioned to her to come inside. "And I suppose they love him," she said, walking in as Sally opened the door. "I had thought just beyond this nonsense, but then I guess there was no way to reason with a heart, eh, Princess?" "I know that well enough," Sally answered, sitting down in her bed. "There have been plenty of times when I thought I had enough of sight to last me a lifetime, but then my heart got involved and we always ended up back together." "You say that as if you regret it," Rosie said, sitting down and smoothing her gray curls. Sally looked at her engagement ring. "No, I could never say that," she admitted. "To think, I'm soon to be Mrs. Sonic Hedgehog. I'll never say this in front of him, but it's been a dream of mine since we were kids." "I know. You told me more than once. But along the same lines, Sonic will one day be king of all Mobius. I wonder how he'll handle all that responsibility." Sally tried to imagine Sonic in royal garb. The pathetic look he had on his face made her dissolve in laughter. Rosie must have been thinking the same thing. She also started laughing. After the laughter had subsided, they each took a deep breath. "I think that's not the only reason you're happy." Sally gave a crooked smile, which caused another small outbreak of laughter. "Rosie, you know I love having my father back," Sally said with a smile. "Most, if not all of my dreams came true on that one night." Rosie smiled, but it was half-hearted. Sally noticed a change in her old friend's demeanor. "What's wrong?" she asked, immediately concerned. Rosie cast a furtive glance around. "Princess, what I say now, you must promise to hold it in strictest of confidence. No one, not even Sonic, can know this until I am sure of what I say." All traces of a smile left Sally's face. "What is it? Is it about my father? What's wrong with my father?" Rosie sighed. "I can't put my finger on it," she said softly, "but there is something about him that seems different. He is not the fox I helped to. He's not the squirrel I helped to bring up." "What are you saying?" Sally asked, aghast. "Are you saying this is an imposter?" "No, she is saying it's a pod person." "Sticks, what did I tell you about using my portal?" "Get out! Hey, I saw a portal leading to other dimensions. I decided to use it. Out! Owski! Why did I even have my planeswalker ring on? Like, God." Rosie shook her head. "No, I'm certain he is who he says he is. But I'm referring to the being inside. He is different somehow, and it scares me. Sally searched her nanny's face. Oh, Rosie, think of what he's been through, she said finally. He's been away from everything he's known and loved for almost 12 years. Of course he's changed. But is it for the better? Rosie wondered, though she wondered silently. What was that? Nothing. Just the ramblings of an old woman. Well, I've taken 2 months of your time, she said, rising. Your father asked me to get you. He and Sonic have things he wants to talk about in his hut. Sally smiled. Tell them I'll be there as soon as I get dressed. She got up and went to the bathroom. Rosie looked at the door and sighed again. I fear it's more than that. She thought she left the hut, but I know whom I must seek. Sally fairly skipped down the path to her father's hut. It was no different from the rest of the huts, but it had been put together in record time. When she opened the door, she saw Sonic and her father sitting in front of each other, discussing something adamantly. Good morning, Daddy, she said, giving him a hug.
Good morning, Sally,
the king said, returning the hug.
Sleep well.
Like a baby. Good morning, Sonic, she said, giving him a hug and a kiss.
Morning, Sal, Sonic said. Your father's been telling me of everything that'll be expected of me as king.
Sally sat on Sonic's lap. Like what?
As you know, her father began, the monarchy has traditionally been handed down from father to son. At times when the only heir is female, whomever she marries has become the king. It's also been traditional that he take the name Acorn instead of his wife taking his, to preserve the line. Also, the first child born that is Fox-like is a designated heir.
Kingy? I have questions if the next child of a chipmunk and a squirrel is fox-like. Like, what was Queen Alicia doing with the Prowers? And, why was Queen Alicia looking at Amadeus that way? And why did Rosemary look a little bit perturbed? Okay, I'd be asking questions if you, sir, a chipmunk, had a child who is fox-like. Considering that you and your daughter are squirrel-based. As a matter of fact, Sally is a squirrel-chipmunk hybrid. Just like I'd be questioning if anything came out of Bunny that was fox-like. As a matter of fact, why has this fic so far been designating every single member of the Hedgehog of Mobius as Fox? Right now, the team consists of a rabbit, a walrus, a dragon, a coyote, a fox, a hedgehog, and a squirrel chipmunk hybrid. Oh, and by the way, Kingy, you might want to get to the flying island. Your male heir is over there. Unless Elias doesn't still want anything to do with him. I'd rather not! Okay. Do you have a problem with any of that, Sonic? She whispered. Not really, Sonic said. I just never thought about it before. It'll take me a little bit to absorb it all, but I guess there won't be a problem.
There are a great many things you'll have to think about now that you ought to be king,
the king pointed out.
But our first objective should be get back to Robotropolis.
Does he mean Robotropolis?
I will never refer to my city by that name,
the king thundered, causing Sonic and Sally to jump a little. Then in a normal voice he continued.
That name is an abomination to everything I've ever believed in. I will neither say it nor shall I hear it spoken in my presence.
Sonic saw Sally a poor look, then she just shrugged. Do you have a plan? She asked, changing the subject.
I've had a plan for years now, but I have to see if it'll work with what we have here.
The king grew thoughtful for a moment.
But I won't say anything else until I'm sure. You'll excuse me, I have some things I want to discuss with some of the animals here.
He stood up, giving a stiff bow, walking crisply from the hut.
Wow, major mood swing, Sonic said after the king was gone.
I mean, he was talking all normally, then he went ballistic! What do you think that was all about, Sal? Sally shrugged again. I don't know, Sonic, she confessed. Maybe it's the stress?
Or maybe, Sally, he has been, in fact, been penderized. You know, penderized.
No, my shot for easier. What is penderized? Penderization, Trixie, is when you have a nice, caring father figure character in your story and turns into an absolute prick for no apparent reason. And everybody, even the people who should know better and actually have a brain, will follow and or respect him no matter how insane, stupid, or crazy he can be. For example, Locke. Under Ian Flynn, he's actually regretful, sad for what he has done to his family, and everybody, of course, is mad at him. But not under Penders. King Max. Under Ian Flynn, he's an actual dad. But under Penders, he is a complete and total asshole. So remember, folks, don't let your father figure characters be penderized. Thank you. Oh, if only I had Teespring, I would make that a t-shirt. This Father's Day, don't let your dad get penderized. If I was only popular enough to get that on a t-shirt, I would. Yeah, it could be. But Sonic did not appear convinced. How are you doing? I'm fine, Sonic, she said, smiling. In fact, I'm supposed to meet Bunny soon and go over some plans. What kind of plans? Sonic asked, beginning to nuzzle her neck. Wedding plans. Sonic stopped moving suddenly. Sally thought he might have fainted. Sal? He began to croak. Do you think that's moving a bit fast? Well, Sonic, I gotta run, she said, giving a quick kiss and standing up. See you later. Wait a minute! Sonic started, but he was gone in a huge sonic boom before he could finish. Maybe it was a mistake to give her a power ring for an engagement ring, he thought, picking himself off the floor. Sally stopped a few meters outside the hut, smiling to herself. She was in no real hurry, just wanted to make Sonic think otherwise. She calmly walked to Bunny's hut and was surprised to see her father emerging from it. What are you doing here, Daddy? She asked. The king appeared discomfited for a moment, but shrugged it off.
I just wanted to speak with Antoine,
he said. As he spoke, Antoine walked out of the hut.
If my plan is to work, he'll be the key.
I am under my needs, Antoine said, bowing. My services are at your disposal.
I see you finally grasp the language,
the king remarked. Antoine smiled a half-smile. A love can be doing many things to an animal, he said, looking back at the hut. But that will be for another time.
Of course, but now we must discuss.
The king's voice faded as he and Antoine walked away. Sally shook her head, bemused. She walked through an open door and saw Bunny sitting on her bed, looking quite a bit upset. What's the matter, Bunny? She asked, sitting down next to her friend. Bunny took a deep breath. Sal, girl, now don't go take this the wrong way, but your father's really ticked me off.
Oh my gosh, he has been penderized!
What? Sally asked, not sure what she was hearing. I can understand why he needs to talk to Sugar Coyote, but he's got no call to speak to me as he did. What do you mean? Bunny looked at Sally. Your father practically ordered Sugar Coyote to go with him. When I asked if they could talk later, he got real nasty, saying how he was the king and his orders were to be obeyed at once. That doesn't sound like my father, Sally said slowly. Under the pen of Penders, nobody sounds like their father, Sally. Are you sure you couldn't be meaning more into this than it is here? Bunny looked hard and Sally, I wouldn't be telling you this if I wasn't sure myself. I'll have a talk with him, I promise. Bunny nodded. Well, see that you do. You know, I got money quite a temper. If it wasn't for Sugar Coyote, king or no king, I will probably ended up cursing him out. Take it easy, Bunny, Sally said, standing up. I'll go talk to him right now if you want. Just keep calm, okay? She backed out the door, closing as she left. My father's usually much more diplomatic than that.
Yeah, well, he's written by Ian Flynn.
She thought, walking the way that she had seen her father and Antoine go. Wonder if he has something on his mind. As he watched, he came across Tails and Sandra, both looking glum. What's with you? She asked. Father gave us a real tongue lashing, Sandra said, sniffling. Why? What did you do? We fell asleep just as our guard duty was ending, Tails explained. He started yelling at us like we were in the army or something. I know we were wrong, but he had to yell at us for 5 minutes straight. He was even harder on me, Sandra said. He has accused me of not living up to the faith he put in me, saying I'm a bad example for the rest of Nuthole. Oh, Sally, what's happened to him? He's not the father I remembered. Well, if it helps, Sandra, me and Trixie are right now creating a strike team task force to hunt down Panders and help King Max. Trixie, who do we got? Well, we currently got one of the Space Rangers, check. We got All Might, check. And we got Jason motherfucking Voorhees. Why did you bring him? Somebody forgot the tradition. Oh, crap. Right, I forgot the tradition. Last month I was so busy with the cats and everything. Oh, fine. And of course, to make sure everything is legal or illegal, we have Marshal Baystar to tell us what we're doing wrong. Is Dinobot distracting him? Like you wouldn't believe. Thank you, Trix. Sally shook her head. I don't know, Sandra, but I'm determined to get to the bottom of this. I'll let you know if I turn up anything. Gotta run. She wrapped up her legs and took off after her father. Oh, you might want to get in touch with Donovan, she called over her shoulder. I'm gonna talk to Sonic, Tails said, giving Sandra a hug. Maybe we can figure out what's up. Okay, Sandra said. Give me a few minutes to set Nani up, and I'll join you. Somewhere in the great forest, Donovan was following a large set of footprints. I must be almost on top of him, he thought, drawing his sword. He thought back to the events of the past few weeks. The strange skunk had wreaked havoc on a scale Donovan had never before seen. 2 Free Fire villages had nearly been destroyed. Many of the villagers had either been hurt, maimed, or outright killed. He probably would have completely destroyed everything if Donovan didn't stop him when he did. As it was, it would take months, if not years, to repair the damage. Come in, Squirrel Boy. Nadia's voice came over his communicator. Keep it down, Donovan whispered fiercely, grabbing his communicator. He'll hear you. Just then, a large skunk burst out from the trees ahead of him, swinging his rune sword wildly. Donovan barely avoided the sword and ran as he could. You did not escape me so easily, the skunk yelled. All the misery you could have prevented me from dishing out, I will return to you 10 times over. What was that? Nadia demanded. Some bug-out skunk with a misery complex, Donovan said. He's as fast as I am, and I don't have enough room to fight with my boots. Did you say skunk? I don't suppose you got his name, did you? He said it last time I fought him. Well, you nailed him with that black sound, but I wasn't paying attention. Hey, weirdo, he called to the skunk. What's your name? Jeffrey St. John. I have been known by many names in my existence, he said in a pained voice, but for now, you may call me Alexei Cravenworth, at least until you die. Get it off! Both Dahlia and Donovan screamed together. Get your butt out of there, Donovan, now! I wish I could, Donovan said, tossing his sword, but I might lead him straight to Knothole. Hold on, silence for a few seconds. When I give the word, dive. But now! Donovan dove forward, shut his eyes against the brilliant white light that suddenly appeared. Next second, he was on the floor of Sally and Sandra's hut. How did I end up here? He asked when his head cleared. Sandra found one of your teleport receiver chips and incorporated it into my circuitry. I just activated the chips you always carry around, using myself as a point of reference. But I can also block it, so don't get any ideas, Squirrel Boy. Quit calling me that, Nadine, he answered reflexively. Our surgeon has a very interesting story behind it, but I must go talk to Tanis. The injured spirit is released. Well, you don't have to go far. He's in here in Knothole, visiting Rosie. Donovan nodded. Oh, by the way, Nadine, he said as he walked out the door,
Don't think I was too preoccupied to notice you called me by my real name when I was laying Caven off.
He's waiting for the smart remark, but it didn't come. He looked back and swore that Nadia had developed a pinkish tinge.
Must be the light.
He muttered and shrugged it off. As he walked down the path, he noticed there was a change in knothole since he last visited. It was festive and upbeat in a way, but muted and restless in another. The strange paradox worked its way into his mind, and thus he did not see Tanis until he was almost on top of him. Tanis gracefully sidestepped, but Donovan came up short.
There seems to be a lot on your mind today, Donovan,
Tanis remarked.
Jonathan?
A voice dashed before he could respond. The king turned a corner and came upon them.
Yes, I remember you from when I escaped the void. I did not know your name then, but I see you are the auntie's son.
Donovan immediately dropped to one knee, bowing his head.
I am here to serve you, my liege, he said respectfully. I gather you have not always been a freedom fighter, then,
the king inquired approvingly.
My apologies, but that story must be kept for another time. It is imperative I speak with Tanis at once. I had thought to speak with him further, but there are other things I must do. Until we meet, next we meet,
the king said and laughed. Donovan rose to his feet as the king laughed.
I did not know he had returned,
Donovan said.
Perhaps that was Nadia's purpose in summoning me here. Considering the circumstances, I cannot blame her.
Donovan had been deep in thought, but that roused him.
What circumstances, Donovan?
Donovan looked at Tanis.
You have something on your mind, old friend? What is it?
You first,
Tanis insisted.
The evil spirit is released,
Donovan said gratefully.
I fear all of Mobius is at risk.
Yes, I know. I had forgotten about it until Sonic went to look for his parents and was alerted to its presence. I was going to tell you when the time was right, but that will be for many months.
I remember the legend. I will do what I can to minimize the damage until then. But now you have something on your mind.
Tanis laughed.
Yes, the king found out that the Covenant is broken and wants to know if I can use my powers offensively against Sniffly.
What?
According to the Covenant, my powers are at his disposal, but I never could use my powers except in defense of another. I don't know if I could bring myself to wantonly destroy something, even a robot.
You can only do what your conscience demands, Donovan said. If you try to go against your conscience, it'll do harm, especially to you.
Tanis smiled wryly.
It seems the student has become the teacher, eh?
Only because the teacher was so good.
Donovan agreed and yawned.
You seem very tired,
Tanis said wearily.
Why don't you catch a quick nap, and I'll wake you up later. I'm sure Sandra won't mind using her bed for a time.
I don't think,
Donovan began, but then suddenly felt very tired.
Maybe I will take that nap.
He walked back to Sandra's hut without another word and plopped down on the first bed he found and fell asleep. Nadia lay on the table, monitor blinking. Fan's calculations suddenly began to flash across the screen. When he stopped, she fired her laser at a very low power setting. It ricocheted a few times and struck Sandra's dresser. The trap door fell open and a blanket fell, but landing squarely on Donovan. Donovan grabbed the blanket and pulled it around him as Nadia activated her automatic set-off routine, which had only been recently installed. Sally was running around Knothole, looking for her father. Everywhere she went, some of the animals were grumbling about her father, and she did not like what she was hearing. I can't believe my father would talk like this, she thought. He'd get back to himself soon, I know it. But somehow, she found it hard to believe her own words. She ran back toward her hut and saw her father speaking to Sandra and Tails. I've been looking all over for you, she exclaimed, coming to a stop. Where have you been? The king looked at her, smiling.
Sorry, Sally. I've just been trying to apologize to everyone for my attitude today. I am the king, but I forget that you have led them pretty much for the past 12 years. It'll take some time to just gain me back.
Is that true, Tails? Yeah, Sally, Tails answered. I understand now what's been going on. No problem here. Same here, sis, Sandra added. Everything's under control now. Sally gave a deep sigh of relief. I am so glad to hear that, she said, giving her sister and father a hug. You'll see. Everyone will come around.
Sooner than you think, Sally,
the king whispered. hugging her back.
Sooner than you think.
Later that day, just as the sun was starting to set, 5 animals sat around the table.
You all know why we're here.
Morris said, "We 5 are the only ones left to have known the king personally before the coup, and are old enough to remember how he used to be," Patricia added. "And each of us knows something is not right." "I helped to raise him," Rosie said. "That's like I helped to raise his daughter."
My God, Rosie, how old are you?
"I know him better than any of you, but when I saw him today, he was not the same squirrel I brought up."
"I've worked for him for many years," Uncle Tuck said thoughtfully. "He would often stop by the lab just to say hi or talk about things. But since he's been back, he only sees me to get updates on activity in Robotropolis. And refuses to call the city by that name, yelling at anyone who does. When he was king, he would often come to me for advice," Tan said. "But we were also friends. Now he wants me to go to war with him. The war is not my nature. He has every right to ask this of me, according to the Covenant. But I thought he would never try to force me to do something I did not agree with."
We have been friends with him all our lives, Dot Morris said. He confided everything in us, even when we first fell in love. But he tells us nothing now, as if we become strangers to him, or he to us.
"We're all agreed something has happened to him," Patricia concluded. "What we have to do is figure out what happened, why it happened, and what we're going to do about it."
"Perhaps I could shed some light on this,"
said a low, raspy voice from the shadows. All 5 turned to look and saw Naga shuffling toward view.
"I believe I know what has happened to your king."
"Then tell us!" all 5 said together. Nagas leaned against the wall, spoke softly, as if standing and speaking pained him.
"While we were imprisoned in the void, I discovered it was a thing of evil, as many of you already know. When the young ones destroyed its core, all that evil was released. At first I thought the evil would simply dissipate or spread out, but that was not the case. I first became aware of the truth while the king and I traveled in the forest, trying to get used to being in Mobius again. He'd never been a horse squirrel, but that was how he seemed. I attributed to stress, but it just kept getting worse. I knew then something was wrong. When we came here, everything seemed to be fine. But what I overheard, that is not the case. The evil that was the void had taken up residence in the king's soul, turning him cold and cruel. If we don't find a way to banish it, I fear he may be lost to us forever."
"But why him?" Rosie demanded. "Why not you or one of the others?"
"I thought long and hard about that," Nagas admitted. "Just as the young ones shielded themselves from his crystallizing properties with their love, so did they shield themselves from its evil. That left only the king and myself. I was an evil creature, and so little of it most of my life. If it were to affect me, I might be able to control it and hide it away."
Besides, you already got 3 personalities in there. Don't want number 4 to show up.
Such is not the case with the king. The evil is controlling him. "You said you were an evil creature," Uncle Chuck pointed out. "Are you saying you're no longer?" 14 years in the void can change a man, especially when the first 2 are spent alone. I have come to terms with my evil. That is not to say that I am not vengeful, however. If Robotnik were to stand here in front of me, I would gladly destroy him, but I have turned away from my evil."
That explains much, Tan said thoughtfully. I may have the solution.
We Holy Ones have an ability.
I'm sorry, so many voices.
We Holy Ones have an ability to draw evil out of the others and disperse it in the universe. But this is a long and drawn-out process and must be performed at Sanctuary. The trick will be to get him there.
At the moment, a loud cry rang through the village of Knothole. All 6 of them felt silent, listening. The cry repeated itself and seemed to be like a war cry.
"What do you make of that?"
Rosie asked, somewhat apprehensively. Orson pretended to exchange glances.
The last time I heard a cry like that was at the beginning of the Great War, Morris said slowly.
In our sophisticated age, some traditions are still held dear, Patricia added. That cry is supposed to bring luck and fortune to warriors, as well as bring them back safely. But why would they be doing that now?
Then it dawned on him.
He's gonna attack Snively now, Uncle Chuck said. We have to stop him.
But by the time they reached the meeting place, no one was to be found.
You must all be on their way to the Robotropolis, Rosie said. We'll never be able to stop all of them.
Did anyone stay behind?
Morris called, his voice ringing out, but no one answered.
He must be going all for nothing. He has to be stopped.
Wait,
Thomas said suddenly.
there may be one who stayed behind.
He walked quickly into the hut, shared by the princesses and went inside.
Wake up, Donovan,
he said, sticking him roughly by the shoulder. What? Who? Donovan said sleepily. He sat up and stretched. Tanis, what is it?
Grave news, I'm afraid. The king is under an evil influence and is leading all of Knothole to Robotropolis.
Donovan snapped alert. Has he turned traitor?
No,
Naga said, coming in with the others.
He believes he could defeat Snively and retake his throne, but he'll do it at any cost.
I understand, Donovan said, setting up. Let's get to the war room. We'll figure out what to do from there. No sense rushing him blindly. He started to leave with the others, but he noticed that blanket had been covering him. How did... Nadia blinked up. What's up, Squirrel Boy? She asked. Enjoy your nap? He picked up Nadia and carried her out. Later for all that. We have a dangerous situation. At Robotropolis, Snively was carrying out his daily sector check. Sector C-35, report, he commanded.
No life forms, sir.
A SWAT bot drummed back. Sector C-36, report.
No life forms, sir.
Sector D1, report. No response. Sector D1, report. Snively repeated, still no response. Dorian, Metalsonic, report to Sector D1 at once.
As you command, sir!
They said, bowing. They walked out, taking a few SWAT bots with them. What could have happened? Snively wondered aloud. Sector D1, report!
Does everyone know what to do?
Donovan asked, twisting out the holograph. No, we just came into the scene and all you said, Donovan, was, does everyone know what to do? You haven't said anything yet.
Timing will be crucial, so wait for my signal. How do you propose such a big diversion?
Morris asked. Donovan cast a sidelong glance at Tanis.
Just leave that to me and Nadia.
Morris just shrugged. They all started to leave when Patricia suddenly doubled over, holding her stomach.
Patricia, what's wrong?
Morris asked, hurrying to his wife. A small groan escaped Patricia's lips.
Just feeling a bit nauseous,
she said, straightening up. I'll be okay.
Well, you're the one who had 7 chili dogs with pickles and sauerkraut for once,
Morris said jokingly.
Not to mention a couple of fistful sandwiches and the ice cream.
Donovan felt a little sick himself after hearing that.
Are you going to be okay enough to come?
Of course, that sounds like a normal meal for the great and powerful Trixie. Trixie, you add chili paste to your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Not just chili paste, but a little bit of Trixie's homemade jambalaya plus this is adding a ginger.
Trixie, if you ever get pregnant, I'm afraid of your cravings. They might turn normal.
I should be,
she said. Then she turned faintly and green.
Then again, maybe not.
She ran into the hut, her hand over her mouth.
I'll stay behind with her, Rosie said. I've never been much for missions.
This was dangerous enough with 7 of us, Donovan said. Now there are only 5. I like this less and less.
Maybe I should call Loop and have her send some reinforcements, Nadia suggested. By the way, love how you didn't include me.
Sorry, Nadine, but you are a computer, and Lupe is busy rebuilding and burying her dead. Of the 11 Wolfpack members, now only 5 have survived.
They're crave enough,
Times whispered.
Donovan nodded, but that'll be for later. Get to your positions and await the signal.
The others headed toward Robotropolis, but Donovan rocketed off towards the heart of the great forest. Rosie walked calmly after Patricia.
I'm glad to be out of that, she thought. Besides, I have a feeling my place is here.
with them. Dorian and Melisandre reached the edge of Sector D1.
I'll take the eastern half, Melisandre said. You take the western. Meet back here in 5 minutes.
Dorian nodded and headed off with some SWAT bots. Melisandre was about to do the same when a loud shout of "Attack!" caught his attention. Suddenly, a large number of animals ran out from their hiding places and attacked the robots.
Open fire!
Melisandre commanded, but the SWAT bots were overrun before they could even aim. Melisandre managed to get away and call for some reinforcements.
I've got the same problem here,
Dorian exclaimed. Fall back to the command center.
Stop them,
the king commanded.
Don't let them escape.
His subjects caught up in the fever of battle, rushed forward heedlessly. We got him on the run! Sonic yelled, leading the charge. Sally, Bunny, and Antoine were to his left, while Tails, Sandra, and Rotor were to his right. The rest of Nahal were following alongside, with the king bringing up the rear. See, Sal, all those plans didn't do what we're about to do right now. I don't know, Sonic, Sally said, yelling to be heard above the noise. It seems almost too easy. Just as they were restoring the main building, a battalion of SWAT bots appeared and started firing. Take cover! Sally yelled.
No, keep going, the king commanded. Push them back.
Father, no, we'll be city ducks.
Do as I say.
Sally stared at his father wordlessly, not understanding what was happening. Just then, Antoine took a laser shot in the leg. He collapsed, howling in pain. Circo! Bunny yelled, clearing a path to him. You alright? Antoine clutched his leg.
It gets stint on it,
he said through gritted teeth.
I'll get you out here.
Bunny hauled him up on his shoulder and turned to leave, but the king barred his way.
What do you think you're doing?
You should be going that way,
the king said, pointing toward the building.
Antoine's hurt. I'm getting out of here.
Leave him if you must, but you're going inside.
Bunny had never been more angry in her life. But as she opened her mouth to barrage the king with curses, a stray laser shot hit her robotic arm, pulling it off at the elbow. She grabbed at the stunt, refusing to cry out.
Dulcie!
She called.
Coming, Bunny!
Dulcie swooped down, put Antoine in her pouch, then the same with Bunny after she picked up her severed arm.
Out of here!
Dulcie said, cracking the whip and flying off.
Traitors!
The king yelled, shaking his fist at him.
Your Majesty!
Rory yelled, diving on top of him. A laser blast just missed Rotor by inches, roboticizing the animal behind him.
Get off of me!
The king yelled, throwing Rotor off. One slice of the SWAT bots fell back and took the opportunity to get into the building. You okay, Rotor? Sally asked, getting to him.
I think I broke my leg,
Rotor yelled. Sonic, go get my father, Sally yelled. Everyone else get back to Knothole.
Meet you there, Sal,
Sonic said, rubbing up his legs. Before he could get started, a SWAT bot fired at him, hitting him in the stomach. Sonic slumped to the ground unconscious. Sonic! Sally yelled, right kneeling beside him. She turned him over and saw a large burn mark where he'd been hit.
I'll get him out of here,
Tails said, grabbing Sonic while directing another to grab Brother.
You and Sandra get your father.
Let's do it to it, sis! Sandra yelled, grinning after the king. Sally followed close behind. A handful of SWAT bots appeared from a side room, but Sandra took care of them with a well-timed spin dash. As they passed by, Sally noticed that one of the SWAT bots was getting up and aiming at Sandra.
No!
Sally yelled, fearing for it. Sally's engagement ring started to glow, and the glow surrounded her. Hardly knowing what she was doing, she curled to a ball and struck the SWAT bot with her own version of the spin dash. But because she had no quills, she did not tear through the SWAT bots as Sandra and Sonic would have. Instead, the power unleashed overloaded the SWAT bot's circuits and turned it into a steaming pile of molten metal. Sally was then able to break through.
Well, sis,
Sandra said, making a U-turn coming up beside Sally. Never would have thought you had it in you. Sally smiled weakly. I didn't either, she admitted, taking a deep breath. How can you and Sonic do it this much? Sandra smiled. You get used to it, she said. But right now, let's go get Father. The princesses revved up their legs and took off the corridor. They reached the main control room and burst inside. The king had stiffly by the throat, holding above his head.
Now, I shall make you pay for all the misery I suffered over 12 years.
He growled, tightening his grip. Sylvie squirmed to struggle, but could not get out of the king's stiff grip.
Kill me, and every SWAT bot in this room will open fire on you,
he whispered. He could not draw in enough air to make it any louder.
I don't care if I die, as long as you're gone.
Sylvie caught sight of Sally and Sandra and smiled. He made a gesture to SWAT-bots who turned and aimed at them.
What about the lives of your daughters?
He inquired. The king turned to look at him. I'm going to scrap those
SWAT-bots,
Sandra whispered, clenching her fists. No, don't, Sally whispered. I want to see what Daddy will do. The king's lips turned into a sneer.
No matter the cost, Mobius must be free.
Daddy? Sally asked plaintively.
You don't mean that!
The king stood watching her unmoved. Then something happened. It was as if Sally was growing younger right before his eyes. What he saw now was a 5-year-old little chipmunk, his little bean, just as he had days before the coup. All these years he had been away from her just melted away. All those years when she had grown, matured and strengthened. All those years he had missed her. With an anguished cry, the king acorn hurled Snively into the SWAT-bots, guarding the door and collapsed. Amid all the confusion, Sally grabbed the king and tried to run out, while Sandra used her crystals to waste the remaining SWAT-bots.
You're not going anywhere, princess,
Dorian said from the doorway. He and Mel sighted their rifles at Sally and Sandra's heads. One false move, and we fire. Sally slowly laid her father to the ground and raised her hands. Sandra walked next to her and did likewise.
This isn't over,
Sandra said, her hands glowing crystalline for a moment. Dorian and Melisande cocked their rifles.
What should we do with them?
Melisande gasped, looking at Sniffly who was just now getting up.
The way I feel right now, I don't care if they get roboticized or shot. I just want to be rid of them!
Sniffly yelled. Melisande smiled, but Dorian turned glum. I derive no pleasure from this, he said, almost as an apology. Before they could fire, Donovan suddenly appeared in the room.
Why does he try shooting me?
He inquired snidely. Dorian growled in anger. Now him, I'm going to enjoy shooting. He brought his rifle to bear on Donovan and fired. The laser went right through him and fired the computer console on the other side.
A hologram!
Melisande exclaimed. The hologram smiled and pointed outside.
Time to dish out some misery!
Screamed a voice just outside the door. Before anyone could react, a large skunk burst into the room, swinging a sword covered in runes. Spying the hologram, he let out a cackle of pure glee.
Finally, I can revenge myself on one who has caused me the most pain!
Who do you think? Dorian began. Alexei grabbed both him and Melisande and banged their heads together. Dorian slipped to the floor, unconscious and a gash on his forehead. Melisande got infected, grabbed the skunk by his throat.
I don't know who you are, he said, but get ready to die!
Oh, but I cannot be killed by one such as you. One swing of his rune sword later, and Melisande was on the floor next to Dorian. Wires exposed his sword circuiting.
And that's for the screen.
Alexei dove at the hologram, striking again and again through his blows did no damage.
Let's get out of here,
Sally said, grabbing her father.
Allow me, princess,
Tanis said, walking into the room.
The others are making sure that everyone is escaping. Quickly, grab my hands.
Sally grabbed on Tanis' left hand, while Sandra held onto his right. Tanis started chanting, and a wind began to build around him. At the sound of chanting, Alexei turned.
I know of one of the sea rat when I see him, he said, advancing at Tanis. You cursed me with this bandit. Now I'll curse you with death!
He looked at Tanis, rune sword slashing. The wind surrounding Tanis, Sandra, and Sally rose up, blocking them from view and drawing Alexei back. When the wind died down, they were gone.
No!
Alexei screamed in anger.
I must have vengeance!
You won't have it here,
Sniffly yelled, pushing a button. A trap door opened under Alexei. Creasing and cursing, the skunk grabbed on the edge of the pit. Sniffly calmly walked up to the edge.
I don't care who or what you are. Get out of my city!
He stepped on the skunk's hands. Alexei screamed and let go. He dropped down into the pit as the governor slid back on top.
So much for him,
Sniffly thought. He bent his Dorian's head and managed to revive him.
How do you feel?
Like someone rammed my head into a wall. Dorian groaned, but I'll be okay.
While I repair Melisande, I want you to assess the damage to the city. Something tells me that skunk has caused a lot of damage.
Dorian nodded and stood up. He walked off somewhat unsteadily, but managed to get out of the room. Alexei ended up far outside of Robotropolis once he stopped rolling. The shoot had ended rather abruptly and rolled out for quite a while.
I will return for you, he swore, laughing. But first, I must fight no one who deserves misery.
But in Knothole, the mood was very grim. There were few, if any, who were completely uninjured. Those who were not badly injured tended to those who were. Those who could prepared for those who died for burial. Sally helped Tanis as he did his best to heal those who needed it. Sonic came up to them, head hanging low.
How bad is it, Sonic?
Sally asked. And Elsie didn't really want to know. Sonic sighed heavily. Of everyone who went, 25 are injured. 10 MIA and feared roboticized, and 5 known dead. Already begun informing the families and making preparations for the burials. I figure I would spare you that.
Thank you, Sonic,
C whispered.
How are you doing?
He shrugged. Taz healed me up just fine, but I'm a little tender.
You'll be okay in a day or two,
Taz said.
Princess, I think you should go check on your father.
Sally nodded. Sonic started to walk with her, but Sally stopped him. I understand, Sonic said before she could speak. He gave her a quick kiss of encouragement. Wiping away tears, Sally walked to her father's hut and knocked softly on the door.
Daddy, can I come in?
Come in, Sally.
Her father answered. The sadness in his voice brought tears to her eyes. As he opened the door slowly, and saw her father sitting by the window.
How, from where I began, did I end up here?
He wondered aloud.
Oh, Daddy, don't blame yourself,
Sally said, crying. Nagas told us what has happened. It's not your fault.
Yes, it is,
the king insisted.
I should have been able to control the evil. Instead, I let it control me. I thought it would help me get the throne back. I should have known the cost.
Maybe you should have, but it's over and done with. 5 good animals are dead because of this. You can either wallow in self-pity or fight it. My father told me never to give up at anything. A rueful smile crossed the king's face.
You're right, Sally. I'll fight it.
And I will help you,
Taz said, walking into the hut.
But first, I need you to agree to fight it. But only Sandra or Sally can do that. I would have gotten Sandra, but she's occupied with Tails.
How can I fight it?
Not how, but where. This is a battle that must be fought at Sanctuary, and with help. I will help you, as will Narcus, because he knows the Void well. All of us working together can get the evil from you.
How long will this take? Sally asked.
I'll be very honest. It'll take months, perhaps years, and even then, some of the evil may remain. Your father will never be the chipmunk he once was.
Will you come visit me, Sally?
The king asked.
Of course, Daddy,
Sally answered.
Anytime I can, if Thomas will allow it.
I think it will help you very much,
Taz agreed.
But now we must go.
Farewell, Sally,
the king said, leaving with Taz.
Bye, Daddy,
Sally said, waving. She walked through Knothole, full of sadness, and came upon Bunny, Antoine, Rhoda, and Donovan.
How's everyone here?
She asked half-heartedly.
I will be leaping for the time, Antoine said, as a Rhoda. But I am more concerned with Bunny.
Rhoda and I have been trying to reattach her arm,
Donovan said,
but the damage is quite severe. It'll take a few days to get back in service.
Will I be able to change it? Bunny asked.
I'm not sure, but I see no reason why you couldn't. But not yet.
Donovan yelled too late. Bunny changed her arm back, and it immediately swelled up. She grabbed it, yelling in pain. Ah! Feels like my arm is broken!
It is,
Donovan said as Antoine applied the splint.
Now, you can't change it back to robotic until it's fully healed.
I'll see Tans in the morning. I just wanted to put my ring back on.
Ring?
Donovan asked. Bunny took her engagement ring out of her pocket and put it on her finger. Donovan looked at the ring, then at Antoine. He also noticed the ring on Sally's finger.
Congratulations,
he said simply.
Now I think I better leave.
A loud beat came from his boot. Donovan looked down and saw Nadia attached to it.
Sorry, Nadine,
he said, taking her and opening her up. I forgot I had you.
Don't let it happen again, squirrel boy,
Nadia said angrily, but to Sally's ear, the anger seemed a little forced.
I'll get her back to Sandra,
Sally said, taking Nadia and closing her up. Donovan nodded. I must admit, she was helpful in tracking the Kravinoff down, fastening that hologram. I don't know, but don't let her know I said that. He bowed, activated his rocket boots, and took off. You are going to bed, Antoine said, picking Bunny up gently. He limped off, holding her close. And I do not want to hear any arguments. And then Antoine collapsed off screen.
Let's argue mates,
Antoine, Bunny said softly, looping her gum arm around his neck. I better get back to my hut, Rudder said. Tannis told me to rest for 3 days, at least.
Get going, Rudder, Sally said. I'll let you know if we need you.
As he began to walk off and give Nadia back to Sandra, I came across a very excited Patricia and Rosie.
What is it? What's wrong? Nothing,
Patricia exclaimed.
I just need to find Morris and Sonic. I have great news for them.
I could use some great news, Sally muttered. Mind if I tag along?
Sure.
Patricia practically dragged Sally off as she searched for her family.
Patricia, I told you it's not a good idea for you to get so worked up,
Rosie cautioned.
Leah, Rosie,
Patricia said, spying Sonic and Morris. She ran to them, still dragging Sally along. Just as they caught sight of her, she let go of Sally and jumped in Morris's arms, kissing him wildly.
What's gotten to her?
Sally asked. I'd like to know that myself, Morris exclaimed when he was able to. Oh, like you have problems getting kissed wildly by your wife. I ain't complaining, but I want to know what's going on. Patricia whispered something in Morris's ears. Morris' eyes widened as far as they could. He looked at her, tried to say something. Patricia just kept nodding, smiling. Morris's eyes rolled back into his head. He collapsed to the ground in a dead faint. What happened? Sonic demanded, helping his mom up.
Oh, nothing,
Patricia said, still smiling.
I just gave us the good news.
Sonic and Sally takes a few glances.
Then why did he faint?
Probably from system shock, Patricia added mysteriously. Quit stalling and tell us, Sonic said, getting impatient.
Well, Sonic, let me put it this way. How would you feel about no longer being an only child?
Both Sonic's and Sally's mouth opened wide.
Probably the same way I did when Mom and Dad told me I was going to have a little brother.
I was very excited.
You mean?
They started.
I'm pregnant,
Patricia exclaimed, hugging them. Sally hugged her back enthusiastically, but Sonic's eyes rolled back in his head, and he collapsed in a dead faint.
Like father, like son,
Patricia murmured.
But how?
Sally began.
Sally, didn't I have that talk with you?
Rosie joked.
That's not what I meant,
Sally said, blushing.
We know,
Patricia said, laughing. After all, I'm only 39.
This is great,
Sally said. We have to tell the others. It'll do a lot to restore everyone's mood.
What should we do about them?
Rosie asked, pointing to the two males. Sally and Patricia smiled. Leave them there, they said together, and walked off. Rosie just smiled and followed them. Somewhere over Mobius, a tropical island floated randomly in the air, kept aloft by some unseen force. On the island, in a secret cavern, a red-killed echidna sat watching the events in Knothole through an oddly covered grayed emerald that pulsed with a soft light. So, these are the ones who would oppose you for the control of the emeralds? He asked an unseen companion. Yes, he answered in a whispery voice, stroking his mustache with his robotic hand. Oh, come on, it's robotic! We all know it's robotic! They have been a thorn in my side. It's only fitting that they have the opportunity to save their planet. The echidna nodded. Then prepare yourself. We will leave for your city in 1 month's time. You remember what I have taught you. You know what will happen. I do, the human answered. I will take my leave of you. He turned around and left the chamber, his cape sweeping across the floor. Knuckles glanced around the room at the other emeralds floating in midair. Look, I'm not gonna say the echidna. You know it's Knuckles. I know it's Knuckles. Dinobot knows it's Knuckles. And I've never even played the games. Everybody in this room knows it's Knuckles. Even Titanus knows it's Knuckles. And he's just my carrier Zord. At the 6 other emeralds floating in midair, as the well to one in the center, red, blue, green, gray, white, purple, yellow. Fire, water, earth, life, wind, shadow.
Yes?
No. Shadow, you're not here. Lightning. The fate of this planet is about to be determined. He thought, whatever side wins, Mobius will never be ashamed for it. He began chanting, calling the spells needed to support the island when the emeralds were removed. And yes, we're ending the season like that. But welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a special presentation as we give our very own personal awards show for this series. Yeah, I was up all night trying to figure out how to best review this show, this first half of the stories. Best developed character in my mind, best OC, I want to give it to Donovan. I know, Sandra's been more stories as he's had more developed, but Donovan, if I were to describe to him to you at any given time, he would sound like the most cliched bad step for what not to do with an OC imaginable. Emo killers, brooding personality, katana, scar, and a Japanese name. Everything in there just screams try hard, emo douche. But as we've met him and spent story after story with him, his character shows off more of a personality. He's not some sort of brooding douche nozzle. He's comical, snarky. He's not perfect. He actually fails a couple of times. And he has to earn his victories. It feels very good to sit by and actually watch him in action. Worst OC? I had originally given it to Dorian in my head, but now that I think about it, it has to be the Void. I mean, oh my god. You're a multi-dimensional entity. You're ready to face off against our heroes. And how do the heroes beat you? By confirming their love for each other. My god. You could be beaten by Alana and Jasmine just making out butt with each other. You could be defeated by just me finding Applejack and us going out on a date. You are that lame, sir. You fail. Of the actual canon characters, the best ones developed, I think, would have to be Antoine. If this fic wanted to turn you into a Antoine fan, this one did it. Which probably leads me to the least developed, which is sadly our main character, Sonic. I mean, the only thing we really get to see Sonic develop or anything big that happens to him is his mom and dad comes back. One of the big problems with these stories right now for most of this first season is that Sonic doesn't get to do as much as he should. I mean, he's a main character, he gets to do cool things, but he doesn't feel like he's got that much of a presence compared to other stories. This is my other problem with this story, is its treatment of characters like Sally, or nearly the girls' relationships. Bunny doesn't have it as bad, but Sally, oh my god, the writing on here makes Sally feel like she's too dependent on Sonic. We're talking the slap dependent. We're talking overly dependent to the point where I have to wonder if Sonic is actually going to have a moment to himself. Sally is feeling less like the Sally I know and love, and more like a bad interpretation of Amy of all people. That's how bad this feels right now. On the other hand, I do like that this does have moments of Sally being cool, of actually giving her some cool moments of her being heroic. I do like that. I just wish they didn't decide to put in that whole deep power stones. Oh, Sally gained Sonic's speed and flight to go along with it. Kind of overpowers her and takes a little bit away from the hog, if you get my meaning. I don't know, I guess I just like Sally being a badass normal, but you know me, I prefer my character. I do enjoy having a less powerful character outsmarting and being smart and tricking people.
Trixie realizes this means you like her for those reasons, but, there's a little bit of a problem.
What?
You called her less powerful!
My mistake, Trixie, my mistake.
And don't let it happen again.
But yeah, I like it when my characters can outsmart other people, and I like it when Sonic thinks on the fly and stuff like that. I just wish there was more of it. But the stories were really good. There wasn't anything that really jumped out to me as bad. Just sometimes it would be slow moving, and sometimes it would be bad. And yeah, there were some character mistakes, like Dorian. Dude, whatever Snively is doing for you in closed doors, it better be the best sex of your life, because, dude, you are sacrificing your entire planet for this guy! And I do love how this story moves, and it does give me what I love about Sonic. This is exploring, finding new paths, and reading into legends and proving them straight or true. What? Come on. Have you noticed that's been a theme for a lot of Sonic games? Finding some sort of ancient mystical thing, then finding it, then trying to save it. I love those parts of the Sonic games. They're my favorite parts, and I've had so much fun with it. Which is why best episode to me is surprisingly not Crystalline Beauty, but a difficult choice. Bunny gets a lot of development here. It's great for her to shine, and I just love the whole Emerald thing. It's great, it's awesome, and it just feels so wholesome. I kind of wish I didn't have to end the season here and just continue on with the rest of the race for Emeralds. But I've got a lot of work to do. 7 Days of Sunny June and the Luniverse, which, as we all know, we're back in. It's actually a pretty good story. Oh, weakest story? I had to say Way of the World. If only because we've been here before. Well, several down, thousands more to go. See you next time.